Education is something we all cherish and appreciate. And with me today is someone who's a stakeholder in the nation's education sector. I'm pleased to introduce to you Mrs. Funke Fowler-Amba. She is an author, and she's also the school administrator of Vivian Fowler Memorial Girls College. Welcome to Strictly Speaking.
Thank you.
Now, shall we kick off in this way? I'm going to get straight to the point. I believe that there is a decline in the way and manner that teachers communicate with children, especially when it comes to the English language. Would you agree?
I do agree, and there are certain factors that have added to that, contributed significantly to that, definitely. We have seen a decline in literacy. The fundamental years are significant. So these teachers coming in, have they had the foundation? We've also seen a lot of decline in the reading culture. We're not reading as much. Our educational system does need an overhaul. We have not updated in any way. And I think there's been a confusion between teaching and learning. We've concentrated so much on teaching rather than learning, because learning would allow one to develop their written skills and also their verbal skills as well.
Right.
Because it brings about a lot of collaboration, a lot of expression and things like that.
I think that's an important point that you make. Now, I remember some years ago, I was part of a panel. It was an interview panel, and a school owner invited a few of us to interview prospective teachers. I believe at the time the positions that were available were for mathematics and French. Now, I was invited because they wanted to be sure that these teachers were actually articulate. Why is it that this problem of articulation still exists?
I believe that sometimes we're very lazy with language. Language develops with a lot of reading, with a lot of speaking, and I think most importantly, we have not injected that aspect of language into our curriculum, whether it's in the primary level, the secondary level, even the nursery level. So I think that where there's a decline is because we have not seen the importance of literacy. If you look at the UK, for instance, there was a decline in literacy in the UK, probably in the 70s and the 80s. And then they were able to distinguish literacy from numeracy. We have not been able to do that. And we also, I wouldn't put all the blame on the teachers that we're getting. You can only give what you get. And unfortunately, until, like I say, there's an overhaul of the educational system, we're going to see even more decline with that. There has to be a complete review of the curriculum, of the way teachers are being put through the system. And then we also have to remember something. With each generation, there are going to be different techniques. We're now dealing with Generation Z, for instance. You cannot teach Generation Z the same way you taught the millennials. And the Generation Z are extremely engaging. They like to be expressive. And I think what we need to do is probably concentrate more on the teaching practices than just the academic aspect of things. There has to be more practice. They have to be prepared. Because let's face it, regardless of the social economic status of where you are, whether you're in a school in Ikoyi or a school in Agege, the bottom line is that Generation Z have access to the internet. They have access to smartphones. That they're very, very exposed. Yeah. And there's going to be an imbalance if we're not preparing those who are going to be teaching them to be just as exposed. And I think also what has happened is that there may be a decline, maybe even in the quality of teachers we get, because we have not made even going to school to be a teacher a competitive venture, more or less. If you look at countries like Singapore, for instance, or even in the UK, you have to be above average to even get into to get into teaching.
Yes.
And we're not seeing that in this part of the world.
Do you think that perhaps teachers should take it upon themselves to develop their social skills, communication skills, etiquette, that sort of thing. Should it be the responsibility of the teachers or the school or a combination?
Well, my belief, like I do with, I think, a lot of my colleagues in the education space, to be fair on them, we do invest in a lot of training. Remember that you cannot have somebody have your vision. So if somebody is coming to work for you, you have to also train them because they have to align with your vision.
Quite.
Yes, if they don't align with your vision, then we're going to be going south and west, and we're not really going to have any kind of mission or direction. So I think it's also the responsibility. Even if you go work for a multinational, you're going to go through an orientation. I know that in some schools, teachers have etiquette classes. We've invited you to come train our teachers. And in other schools as well, people invest in ensuring that we get to the point whereby, people are able to align with our vision, whatever it may be.
Is it fair, would you say, for parents to complain that it is the lack of aptitude of teachers that somehow has an adverse effect on the speech habits of their children? Is that a fair comment to make?
I say this with the most humility. Education requires a tripod relationship. It's the parents, it's the school, it's the students. The school as secondary parents. What we can do is more or less implement what has been done in the home. Parents have to understand that it takes a lot of responsibility. They have to be part of the process. Just to add to that as well is that from a home aspect, we're not interacting. The social aspect as social beings or how we were growing up. We're not seeing people talk around the table. We're not having lunch together. We're not having dinner together. These are where people develop their communication skills.
Absolutely.
These are where conversations begin.
Yes.
So we need to bring back that family unit. We need to go back to being a sense of community because by us even being a community, even if parents are busy, grandparents are there to have conversation or hold conversations with children. Aunts are there to hold conversation. So I think that for us to repair all of this as well, we also have to repair those handicaps or those things that have declined in the society whereby we're not family oriented.
Well, thank you very much for being part of the program today. I appreciate the time that you've spent with me here.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Coming up next on the program is our discussion with John Senaya. And of course, we're talking about public speaking.